Guys, today's story is absolutely crazy. I'm gonna be honest with you, right from the start, I do not know if this story is true. I found it on the interwebs, of course. However, I tried to find this exact case, and I couldn't find it anywhere on the internet, but I don't know if I was necessarily looking for the right stuff, because all the names have been changed in this story. OP stated very clearly that he changed every name, but he says this is being handled by the FBI. Guys, today's story is about a mother-in-law who does not like OP. She doesn't like the man that her daughter married, and she does something absolutely despicable. But here's the crazy part. This isn't her first rodeo. She's done this to other families before, and I'm just going to hop right into it. I hope you guys enjoy this one. Before I get started, you guys need to know this has turned into a federal case. And I need to tell this story in full because I found 4 other families who went through the same thing, and none of us saw it coming. By the time you realize what's happening, you're already 3 moves behind in a game you didn't even know you were playing. Emma and I met at a medical conference out in Chicago. She was presenting something on pediatric immunology, and I was there for a pharmaceutical development workshop. Smart, funny, called out the keynote speakers for using outdated statistics. I was done for. We dated for 2 years, got engaged on a beach in Michigan, where her family had a summer home. Her parents' reaction should have been my first clue. They weren't just happy, they were euphoric. Father-in-law opened a bottle of champagne he apparently has been saving for, quote, this exact moment. Mother-in-law cried and hugged me, whispering, "You're exactly what we hoped for." Not what Emma hoped for or what they hoped for. But I'm getting ahead of myself. The real story starts 8 months before I met Emma. My mother loves genealogy. She spends hours on forums tracing our family back through all sorts of stuff to the Maratha Empire, or something like that. In January 2021, she met Carol on ancestryforums.com. Carol was researching missionary work in India, specifically in the regions my family was from. What are the odds? They bonded almost immediate. Carol knew just enough about Indian history to be credible, but had just enough gaps that my mother felt useful filling them in. Mom would spend hours just typing up family stories. How my great-grandfather was a freedom fighter, how my grandmother smuggled gold jewelry during partitions, and the origin of our family-specific spice blend that had been passed down for generations. Carol was fascinated by everything. The medical history was, quote, for understanding genetic patterns in population. The recipes were, quote, to understand cultural exchange through food. The immigration stories were, quote, for a book about the Indian diaspora. My mother sent her everything, photos, documents, even my dad's medical records when Carol mentioned her husband had similar symptoms and she wanted to compare the treatment. Mom would forward Carol's emails to all of us, like, look how interested this American lady is in our culture. So by the time I proposed to Emma in April 2022, Carol knew. Every family member's full name, birthday, location, our entire medical history including my rare enzyme deficiency, my parents' immigration timeline, and every document they filed. My sister's teaching schedule in school, my cousin Priya's scholarship application and essays, our family's financial situation from discussions about supporting relatives in India, the exact layout of my parents' house from photos, and every business my extended family owned in a 200-mile radius. She even knew which spices triggered my allergies, and she knew my father took his insulin at exactly 6:30 a.m. and 6:30 p.m. She knew my mother's garden was her pride and joy and started from seeds her dying mother had smuggled from India. She knew my sister had struggled with accusations of favoritism at her previous school. She knew everything, and I was about to marry her daughter. So the engagement party was at Emma's parents' country club, 200 guests all wanting to meet the groom. Mother-in-law introduced me to everybody with slightly different versions of my background. To the sheriff, oh, he works in pharmaceutical development, you know how unregulated the industry is overseas. To the city councilman, oh, his family owns several businesses, they're very entrepreneurial, sometimes too much, if you know what I mean. Oh, and to the school board president, his sister teaches elementary school, different cultural approaches to discipline, you understand. Each introduction planted some sort of a seed, and I thought she was just being awkwardly Midwestern about having an Indian son-in-law. Emma apologized for her mom being weird about the cultural stuff. So, my cousin Priya was brilliant. Perfect SATs, valedictorian, full ride to Northwestern for biomedical engineering. She'd worked her entire life for this. 2 weeks after our engagement party, Northwestern received an anonymous tip about plagiarism in her application essay. The investigation found nothing, but it took 3 months, and by then the scholarship committee had allocated resources elsewhere. The appeals process would take another year. Priya had to decline Northwestern. She ended up at a community college and then transferred to state school. Still brilliant, but the trajectory was altered forever. We found out later that the anonymous tip included phrases directly lifted from emails my mother had sent to Carol about Priya's achievements. So, missionary memories were recipes from the Raj, launched in September 2022. Mother-in-law's blogs about her ancestors' time, and the butter chicken my grandmother perfected during her restaurant days in Delhi. Mother-in-law claimed her great-aunt learned from it, a local woman in Bombay. The specific way my family's tempered dal with ghee infused with hing, attributed to colonial kitchen observations. She would change just enough words to avoid direct plagiarism, but kept the exact measurements, timing, even the personal notes. My grandmother's introduction with the instruction to, quote, add love with the masala, became add intention with the spice blend. The blog went viral in certain Christian mommy blog circles. What a wonderful way to honor both cultures, they commented. Mother-in-law started getting invited to speak at churches about culinary missions. So, guys, I start to get sick whenever we would visit Emma's parents. Couldn't breathe, eyes watering, throat closing. Allergy tests showed nothing new. Emma thought I was having anxiety about her family, but it got worse after we moved in together. Some days I would wake up gasping. We had the apartment tested for everything. Mold, gas, leaks, carbon monoxide. Nothing. During spring cleaning, Emma found incense ash in our heated vents. Not just any incense, dragon's blood mixed with frankincense and, the specific combination that triggers my genetic enzyme deficiency. It causes respiratory distress in about 0.3% of people with South Asian ancestry, and Carol had asked my mother extensively about family health quirks for the genetic research. Mother-in-law had been burning it into our vents during every visit. I thought it would purify the air, she said when confronted. I had no idea it had caused all my problems. Our insurance broker, who handled Emma's family for 20 years. They just dropped us without explanation. Conflict of interest, his secretary said. We applied to 6 companies, all rejected or quoted insane rates. Finally, an agent at State Farm told Emma off the record, someone's been calling about you two, asking about coverage for high-risk individuals, and mentioning concerns about fraud. We can't prove harassment, but I would definitely look into it. Meanwhile, my parents started having banking issues. Direct deposits would disappear, bill payments would not process, and the bank would claim system errors. But it only affected their accounts, and each fix required hours at the branch, providing documents proving their identity over and over. And, November 2022, mother-in-law donated $50,000 to our temple. In Emma's name, of course, with conditions. The donation came with a letter suggesting governance improvements included. Term limits for board members, the most important, but the temple was torn. That money could renovate the kitchen, fix the roof, expand the child's program, but accepting meant changing absolutely everything. The aunties who watched me grow up started to whisper. Was I using my white wife to take over? Was this about power? The community was split. My mother was asked to step down from organizing Diwali after 20 years. Christmas 2022. Father-in-law bought everyone ancestry tests. He said, let's explore our heritage together. He collected all the kits to mail them together for a discount. And my results were posted in the Concerned Citizens of Oakbrook Facebook group 2 weeks later. Some helpful soul had annotated them with research about genetic markers, aggression patterns, and population-specific traits linked to antisocial behavior. The post was deleted within hours, but screenshots circulated. Emma's coworker saw them, and my boss got an anonymous email about genetic predisposition that might affect work performance. Father-in-law claimed his email was hacked. The police said without proof of who posted it, there's nothing that they could do. So now we're moving towards March 2023. If this is starting to come together for you, that's good. But hey, 20 years of my mother's work died in a single week. March 2023. Heritage tomatoes from seeds passed down 3 generations withered. Curry leaf plants she'd babied through 15 Michigan winters were gone, black. The jasmine that bloomed every spring and reminded her of her mother's garden in Poon, dead. The Tulsi plant that was the first thing she planted when they bought the house is destroyed. The extension office found Garland 4 Ultra in the soil. It's an industrial herbicide that requires special licensing. Only landscaping companies in 3 counties have it. The owner was on the city council with mother-in-law. Kids must have vandalized it, police said. No investigation. My mother did not leave the house for 2 weeks, and Dad said, well, she'd sit at the window staring at the garden, crying silently. After mother-in-law joined the city's, quote, Community Standard Committee in January 2023, every Indian business in town got targeted. The Patels, their grocery was improper storage of ethnic goods. I mean, it just went on and on. Each violation required lawyers, fees, lost business during investigations, and the Bengalis closed permanently. The Patels sold to some chain store. This one still makes my skin crawl, but February 2023. People around town started mentioning seeing me do concerning things. Oh, I saw your husband yelling at a child at the park. Was that him stumbling out of the liquor store at 2 p.m.? Someone saw him taking photos at the elementary school. Guys, I was at work during every single incident, of course, with timestamps and witnesses, but the whispers had started. Emma's co-worker's husband finally showed us security footage from his store. It was a kid, maybe 14. Similar height and build to me, wearing clothing identical to the ones I owned. The kid would do something borderline inappropriate, then just disappear. We never found out who the kid was, and the police said without a crime being committed, they could not investigate, and the rumors just persisted. April 2023, my diabetic father was hospitalized with blood sugar 410. He's meticulous about his diet, tests 4 times a day, and has not had an incident in 10 years. The ER nurse found sugar packets in his jacket pockets, the jacket he wore to Easter dinner at Emma's parents', and he does not take sugar in anything, never has. Mother-in-law was helping him with his jacket, making sure that he was comfortable. Oh, I thought those were sugar-free sweeteners for his tea, she said. My father doesn't even drink tea, has not drank tea in 40 years. Carol knew this from their extensive discussions about dietary habits. And then the escalation started in 2023. I'm just going to run you through some of the stuff. Between May and August, this is what, accelerated. My 7-year-old nephew was kicked off his soccer team for aggressive play after mother-in-law joined the youth sports board. The farmers market banned my mother's vegetable stand for permits that they have had valid for 8 years. 3 dentists suddenly could not accept her family as patients, and my nephew's packed lunch was reported as potentially hazardous foreign food. And of course, the city installed a speed camera on my exact route to work. I don't even know how she pulled this off. It was just 1 block, nowhere else. My parents' water main broke 4 times, city averages once a decade. And we were all purged from voter rolls 2 weeks before midterms. And of course, the IRS audited my parents based on anonymous tips about hidden foreign income. Each incident was explainable individually. Together, they just paint a big picture. The property destruction is what set it off. September 2023 was when it turned genuinely dangerous. Rats appeared in my parents' pristine kitchen, 20 at a time, no entry point. The exterminator found evidence they were being fed through the mail slot. Fire ants, not native to Michigan, created mounds throughout my yard. The extensive office of the extension said that they had to be deliberately introduced. And black mold appeared in our air vents, and the inspector said it looked seeded rather than naturally occurring. E. coli contaminated my parents' well water despite no agricultural source within 5 miles. Dead animals started appearing on our doorstep. Not like random roadkill, specifically chosen animals with significance to them. A peacock, which is India's national bird. A bald eagle, which is a big felony. With its head taken off, the message is clear. Then the fertility sabotage. If I'm painting a good enough picture for you, let me know if this is a nightmare situation of a mother-in-law. So, Emma and I have been trying for a baby since the wedding. Mother-in-law was so supportive, bringing fertility teas, special supplements, doing acupuncture pressure points that she learned from a Chinese grandmother. Emma's period stopped, but she wasn't pregnant. Her hormones were completely disrupted, and the gynecologist ran tests on the tea. It contained blue, pennyroyals, and donkey, all known for all the effects and implantation preventers. The herbalist must have made a mistake, mother-in-law said, eyes wide open, with concern. I specifically asked for fertility herb. Well, the herbalist had no record of mother-in-law ever shopping there. Thanksgiving 2023. I went to get my coat and found mother-in-law in the bedroom with my pockets turned out. She had a small vial and was dripping something on the collar. I said, "What are you doing?" She just jumped up and knocked over her purse, and multiple vials fell out. Labels were in her handwriting, said cashew oil concentrate, peanut oil concentrate, shellfish extract. That night, my throat closed up at dinner. Emma had to stab me with my EpiPen, which I'm lucky I had standing by, and the hospital found concentrated cashew oil on my collar, in my food, and on my napkin. I've never been allergic to cashews before. The doctor said sudden adult onset allergies are rare, unless there's deliberate sensitization through repeated concentrated exposure. Well, while I was in the hospital, Emma went to her parents' house to get my insurance card from mother-in-law's filing system. She'd insisted on helping with our paperwork. In the desk, she found the journals. Leather-bound, dated, meticulous, going back decades. 1994 is when it started. 1994 to 1996. Are you ready for this? Father-in-law's brother Thomas married a Korean woman named Min Jung. 2 years of documented harassment. Introduced fermented fish to the ventilation during family dinner. She named everything she did. 2008 to 2009. Emma's sister Sarah dated a black man. His name was Marquise. It says he posted his photo on white forums with their home address, called his employer about concerns regarding theft, distributed flyers about property values declining, and Marquise admitted for psychiatric hold after anonymous welfare check calls this woman is a monster. 2015. Emma's cousin brought home his Jewish boyfriend David. Oh man, she did graffiti on David's car and blamed a random vandal. Anonymous letters to his synagogue about his lifestyle choices. Parents received threatening calls about their son's choices, and David's mother's grave was vandalized. You don't touch someone's grave. 2019 to 2023. My section was the most detailed. It was detailed plans for the genealogy infiltration, scripts for conversations with various officials, chemical formulas for the allergen introduction, timelines for escalation, contact information for every conspirator, and financial records of bribes paid. The final page of my section had a single line. If necessary, implement Thomas' solution. Thomas's wife died in a car accident. It was brake failure. So, you want to know what this is all about? I think it's the insurance policy. Behind the journals was a folder of insurance documents, policies on me for $2 million. Emma was the beneficiary and mother-in-law was the contingent. The policies were taken out a month before Emma and I met. There were other policies. One for Min Jung paid out to Thomas, which somehow ended up in mother-in-law's account. One for Marquise, never used, and one for David, never used. Applications, forms for policies on my parents, my sister, my cousin Priya. And the network. See, the deepest folder contained the network. It wasn't just mother-in-law involved in this, it was systematic. You won't believe when I tell you who was all in their papers. The sheriff, the city councilman, the health inspector, the federal judge, the parking supervisor, the school board president, the utility supervisor, and the medical board member. There were emails, text messages, recorded phone calls, planning each phase. Oh. And then came the escape. We left that night. Emma drove while I called my family. We didn't pack, didn't plan, we just ran. Mother-in-law called the police within an hour, claiming I kidnapped Emma, and the sheriff issued an Amber Alert despite Emma calling dispatch directly to say she's fine. We had to drive to a police station 3 counties over to get it canceled, and the emails started immediately. Emma, he's controlling you. This is what they do, isolate you from family. The baby will have genetic defects. It's not too late to come home. We can make this all go away if you come back alone. So here's the current situation. We're in Chicago now, staying with Priya. She's in law school. Different path than planned, but she made it. She connected us with civil rights attorneys who say this is the most extensive case of systematic harassment they've ever seen, and now the FBI's involved. Turns out coordinating across state lines to deprive citizens of civil rights is a federal crime. Not to mention the bald eagle she took down. The IRS is investigating the fraudulent reports, and the EPA wants to know about the industrial chemicals. The insurance fraud division is very interested in those policies. Emma, she's pregnant. We found out 2 weeks ago. We told nobody except my parents and the lawyer. But mother-in-law somehow knows. The emails have shifted. Certain genetic combinations are incompatible with life. The stress you're under can cause a miscarriage. I know a discreet doctor who can help. Think about what kind of life the child will have. Well, this is bad. We also found 4 other families she might have been involved with. A Vietnamese family from Ohio, a Nigerian family in Indiana, an Arab family in Wisconsin, and a Filipino family in Minnesota. Same pattern, same escalation, same network structures. 2 of them had accidents, 1 fled the country, and 1 lost everything but survived. All of them said the same thing. We thought we were going crazy. No one believed us. It was too coordinated to be real. So you're probably wondering in your heads right now, why the hell am I writing this? Because when Emma and I compared notes with the other families, we found a very specific pattern. It starts with a reconnaissance. Then comes the subtle reputation destruction. Then financial pressure builds. Then community isolation increases. Environmental hazards start to appear, like mold, pest contaminations that cannot be traced. And then the medical sabotage escalates, and finally the accidents happen. Brake failures, gas leak, house fires. Check if your parents have new friends asking detailed questions. Document everything when authorities suddenly target your family, and test everything if you develop sudden allergies or illnesses, and run if an animal appears on your door. The investigation is ongoing. 17 people have been arrested or questioned, and more are under surveillance. The network is fighting back, or as I like to call it, claiming this is my paranoia, that we're playing the race card, that we're mentally unstable, but we have the journals, we have the emails, we have the chemical receipts, we have the insurance policies, for crying out loud, we have the proof. Emma asked me last night if I regret marrying her. Well, I told her the truth. I just regret that evil people exist, but I don't regret loving her. We're fighters. Both of us, our families are fighters, and we survive worse than this. The baby's due in May. We're not announcing it, and when mother-in-law goes to prison, we'll send her a photo. Some people ask how mother-in-law justified this. In her journal, she wrote, God gave us this land to create a perfect society, and some bloodlines pollute the perfection. It's not hate, it's hygiene. And that's what we're up against, not just racism, but eugenics wrapped in suburban respectability. If you recognize these patterns, just run. Document second, and then, well, these people don't stop. They escalate until you're gone, moved, or destroyed. But we're not gone. We're here and we're fighting. Guys, by the way, I changed every single name. None of these names are accurate, but I'm gonna be honest with you. This story made national headlines, and you might have heard about it. So it's not going to be too hard to Google and find out who I am and who my family is and who my mother-in-law is. That's it. My story is done. I don't know if she'll be convicted fully, but I do know one thing. Evil exists in this world, and it starts with her name.